Hi, my name is Dolly. Welcome to New Vintage Church Bible Study Home Group on Mark. This is week 7, and we're going to be studying about God's provision. And there are many examples in the book of Mark about how Jesus provides for his people and how he's a compassionate Savior, and he serves as an example. And so we're going to be looking at this and reading this and see if we can get to our study in motion. So Mark 6:30 through 44. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many people saw them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed, he saw a large crowd, and he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so the disciples came to him and said, "Jesus, this is a remote place. These people need to go back to town, and it's very late, so send them away so they can to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered, "You give them something to eat." They said to him, "That would take 8 months of a man's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" Jesus said. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 loaves and 2 fish. Then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and he broke them. And he gave them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up the 12 baskets of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of the men who had eaten was 5,000. This is kind of a story a lot of you have already heard. It's sort of an interesting story in that when we talk about God's provision and God's rest, Jesus is taking his disciples someplace where they think they're going to have rest. But when they get there, all these crowds are already there. So the disciples are thinking, well, here goes our rest. We're just going to be doing the same thing we've been doing. But Jesus had compassion, and I think he has a lot of compassion for all of us. And he knows what we've been through. So having compassion on them, he said, "What have you got?" So they decided to get the bread and the fish, break it up, pass it out. And I think the most interesting part of the story is that he told them, he sent each of his disciples, these are people he's teaching, he sent each of them out to collect the scraps. He sent out 12 disciples, and they came back with 12 baskets of scraps. So each of them had their own provision right in front of them in their hands. Each one of the 12 had a basket. So it was like a testimony to each one of them that God could provide for them, that it didn't matter that they only had 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He was going to provide for them. So let's go ahead, get into our discussion, and we can put these biblical truths from the Gospel of Mark in motion. I hope you have some interesting and great discussions on this.